Hey guys, since we haven't seen each other in a little while, I wanted to share a story that I love and a craft with you. Parents, you should have received a link for some printables that your kids will need for this video. The two items that they'll need are some loaves and fishes and also a basket printable. And parents, I also wanted to share with you the book that I'll be reading from today. It's called The Spy on Noah's Ark and Other Bible Stories from the Inside Out. It's by an Episcopal priest named Lindsay Hardin Freeman, and she is also an author. She writes books for kids. She also writes books for adults. And this book is one that my kids and I have really enjoyed. You can get it off of Amazon, which is where I purchased it from. It's published by Forward Movement. That's a familiar name for a lot of you. So the Forward Movement website is a great place to get a lot of Episcopal resources. So this book, The Spy on Noah's Ark, it is a fiction book broken up into small stories. It takes really well-known classic Bible stories, but it puts a new twist on them. So for example, The Spy on Noah's Ark is the story that we all know about Noah building an ark, gathering all the animals, but it's told from the perspective of the dove, which is really creative. Likewise, today's story that I'm going to share with you today is the story of Jesus feeding 5,000. So that's a story that many of us know, but the author takes kind of a new perspective on it, and she tells that same story from the perspective of an ant that was there. So it's really neat. This takes a lot of Bible stories that we know, but it tells them all from the perspective of an animal or a character who's really not well known. So it's a great book. My kids and I have enjoyed it, so I recommend this one for you guys too. So let's go ahead and get started. This story is called Food for Me, Food for All, as told by the ant. I had my eye on the boy, but mostly on the lunch basket he carried with him. Lunch. Through the ant news station, I'd heard he was toting smoked fish and homemade barley bread, still warm from his mother's oven. Don't ask to see the ant news. For you, it would be like looking at a screen the size of a pea. You'll just have to trust me that I'm telling you the truth. I did get some lunch, but more important on that day, the day of the great miracle, I saw Jesus. Given my affection for food, it was one of the best days of my life. Jesus fed over 5,000 people and me. Here's how it happened. I was enjoying a dead cockroach for breakfast when the terribly large object crashed down on me. Everything was dark, but suddenly smelled delicious. It had been covered by a basket of bread. A boy had set it down right on top of me, and thank goodness I was still alive. Warm bread wins over dead bugs any day, so I squeezed upward through the crisscrossed wicker with visions of sweet barley filling my tiny ant head. Oh, but his mother had wrapped all 5 loaves in palm fronds, tight as a drum and impossible to chew through. Then voices. Suddenly I heard loud, excited voices. You can't believe what he can do. He healed my sister. She's been sick for years and she's fine now. My father was blind and now he can see. He raised a girl from the dead. What was going on? I'd never heard such a ruckus. Bam, bam. Suddenly the basket flew up as the boy grabbed it, swinging me around as he ran. Then came more voices, yelling all around us. It's Jesus. It's him. Jesus, heal me. I want to walk more than anything. Bump, scrape, oomph. We were getting pretty jostled by the crowd. Up, down, sideways, down. I held on tight to the basket's side. Sometimes the boy would even carry it on his head to squeeze through the crowd. Crawling to the top, I peeked out over the crowd. I saw a woman who could not walk, carried on a blanket by two small boys who looked just like her. Heaving and lurching, they brought her to the man who was causing all the excitement. There he was, Jesus. I watched, fascinated, my antenna waving with curiosity. As he knelt beside her, everyone else grew quiet. All of Jesus' attention was focused on her, with one hand resting over his heart and the other touching her cheek. Jesus looked into her eyes and said just 6 words: "Be healed. Rise up and walk." She shuddered, and then her cheeks became rosy again as she stood up and reached for her boys, gathering them close. "Thank you, oh, thank you," she said through her tears of joy. "We can never do enough for you," said one boy. "You have given us our mother back," said the other. And so it went. Jesus laid his hands on people, and they were instantly healed. The blind could see, the deaf could hear. Sad and troubled people began to smile. Finally, as evening approached, the sun began to drop in the sky. "Jesus, it's getting late and these people are hungry," said one of his friends. "Tell them to go buy food for themselves." "Philip, you give them something to eat," came the reply. But we have no food," stammered Philip. "Not enough for all these people." "Then find some," came Jesus' reply. By this time, the boy had grown tired. Drowsing off with his head on the basket, he was suddenly nudged awake by the man who had been talking to Jesus. "Boy, do you have food with you?" Wearily, the child nodded. 5 loaves and 2 fish inside my basket." "We need them," said the man. "Jesus needs them." I can't tell you how it happened because I still don't know for sure. Philip handed the fish and bread over, and Jesus put his hands on them. Then I blinked. In that instant, there was suddenly enough food for everybody. Mountains of loaves and fishes. Thousands of people ate and ate. No one was left hungry. Everyone was full, saying it was the best food they'd ever had. "Bring me whatever is left," said Jesus. "Find all the broken pieces and bring them to me." 12 baskets of leftovers were handed to him. One by one, Jesus touched them. Then, picking up the boy's basket, on which I still clung, he said, "Thank you, God. Thank you for all you give us. Thank you for those who share. Thank you for each other." Putting the basket down, Jesus carefully held out his little finger toward me. I crawled onto it, looking straight into his face, and he gave me a ride to the ground on his hand. He leaned over and he whispered, "Hi, little one. I knew you were there all the time. Did you get enough to eat?" I nodded, my antenna bobbing up and down like springs. "Good," he said. "I'll always take care of you. Don't forget." And I haven't. When Jesus shows up, there's more than enough food and love to go around. Wasn't that a cool story? I love that story. It must have been so amazing to see the miracle that Jesus performed in feeding all those people. And I loved how he saw that others had needs and he provided for them, just like he does for us every day. That's a really great story, and I have a craft to go along with it that I think you guys will really like. So for this craft, you're going to need a few things. You will need something to color with. It can be pencils, crayons, markers, anything you have in your house. You'll need glue or tape, either one works. A pair of scissors. And you'll also need the printables that your parents have, the basket and also the loaves and fish. And you'll also need one additional piece of paper. It can be computer paper, construction paper, any blank paper will be completely fine and will work. So what we'll do is I sent instructions with the printable and the link to this video so you can either do the craft separately we have all the instructions, or if you want to create along with me, you can watch the video and pause along at certain points. So let's get started. So the first thing you'll want to do is you'll want to take the two printables and you can color the basket and the loaves and fish any way you would like. So I happen to color them ahead of time just so it would be a little bit quicker for you to watch, but I've got my basket here and I also have the loaves and fish. And after you color everything, I want you to cut them out. So you're going to want to cut all around the basket and also the inside of the basket. And this might be something that your parents can help with, but what I did, which was really easy, I poked a hole in the middle and cut around it and then cut around the entire basket, and it looked really nice. And it's hard to tell, but I did color this with colored pencils. So you can color it any way you like. So what we'll want to do once that is completely cut out and colored, you'll want to take your blank piece of paper and we want to put the basket somewhere on there. It can be anywhere you want. You can hold the paper vertically, horizontally. You can put the basket anywhere. And then what I want you to do is to attach the basket to the paper. You can either do this with glue or tape. Either will work. The one important thing to remember is don't put any adhesive on this flat part of the basket here. We want to leave that open. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use little pieces of tape and I'm going to tape all around my basket, making sure it's nice and secure on my page. I'm going to tape the handle and the bottom of the basket. I'll show you what that looks like. So I put tape all around here. The entire thing is taped, but not along here. And if you're using glue for this craft, you'll want to do the same thing. Glue the back of the basket, but don't glue this part. And you'll see why in just a second. There, make sure it's nice and taped down. Okay, the next part is I cut out my fish and my loaves. It's a little hard to tell on the video, but they are all colored in. So what I did was I cut everything out after I colored it, and you'll be able to actually put the bread and the fish in the basket. And if some of them fall down a little, that's okay. They're all going to be contained in there. Okay. Okay. So right now you've got a basket and it doesn't look like anything is in there now, but what you can do, because you didn't tape it, is pull everything out. So if you want to retell the story, maybe you want to share the story with your parents or with your siblings, you can tell the story and take the pieces of bread and the pieces of fish out of the basket. So another thing that was a really important part of the story was who told the story. It was the ant. So we definitely don't want to leave him out. So somewhere on your basket, anywhere you want, draw a picture of an ant. So you remember, let's see, I think I'll put it on the bottom. He was a really important part of the story. So I want to draw the ant. Kind of changed locations during the story. He was at the bottom in the beginning, and then he was at the top trying to get a good view. What I did, I drew a little ant there on the basket, but you can draw him anywhere you want. And the thing I really liked about the ant in the story was even though he was so tiny, he still got fed and Jesus still noticed him. I thought that was so cool. So I definitely want to put him on my basket somewhere. Now you've got a lot of blank space up here, so you can put anything you want up here. You could draw a scene from the story, maybe draw your favorite part of the story. You can also write on there, maybe a Bible quote, or write down your favorite part of the story. I thought I would just do a simple title for mine. You can write something like Jesus provides. You could write Jesus feeds 5,000. I think I'm going to make mine really simple. and just write Jesus feeds 5,000. So I just added a little title to mine, but you can add a lot more. You can draw, you can decorate, you can do a lot more to your picture. Just make it meaningful for you. You can put details from the story because it was a really neat story to hear, especially with this new kind of creative twist. So I hope you enjoyed the story. I hope you enjoyed this little craft. I can't wait till we're all together again in church and we can see each other. So I hope you are at home, healthy and well, and I can't wait to see you soon. Bye.